This is some more about dividing decimals by decimals, sometimes by a whole number or a negative integer, but it's a division again. And it's on the worksheet, Sign Up. And I'm going to do a few of these problems for you. We're going to look at F. And it's going to be a negative 5, 4.395. Okay, this one's pretty easy because it's just by a negative integer. There's no decimal to move, so your decimal goes right here. And you ask yourself, can 5 go into 4? No. Can 5 go into 43? If you need to hide the other numbers to think about it, you can do that. Graph paper works really well too, so I'll try to get some of that for the next video. But 5 can go into 43 8 times. It's 40. 3 left over. Bring your 9 down. 5 can go into 39 7 times. 35. 4 left over. Bring your 5 down. 5 can go into 45 9 times. Okay, and you have a negative and a positive. And when you are multiplying or dividing, a negative divided by a positive or vice versa, your answer will be a negative. So the rule remains for division and multiplication. If the signs are opposite, one's positive, one's negative, it's always a negative. In division and multiplication, if the signs are the same, it's always positive. 2 negatives make a positive. 2 positives make a positive. But if the signs are different, it's always a negative. That's only in multiplication and division. Okay. So let's look at K. You have negative 9 on the outside and negative 5, 9, decimal 004. So again, I don't have to move the decimal. I have a negative divided by a negative. So my answer is going to be a positive. So I'm going to look, 9 cannot go into 5, but 9 can go into 59 6 times. 6 times 9 is 54. 5 left over, bring down your 0. 9 can go into 50. Bring your decimal up. 5 times 45. 5 left over. Bring down your 0. It's another 5. And 5 left over. Bring down your 4. And 9 times 6 is 54. And your answer is positive because it's a negative divided by a negative. Let's look at T. Whoops, out of the picture there. Okay. Okay, there is a decimal for us to move over. So you take the 1 on the outside, move it over till it becomes a whole number. Take the decimal, move it over as the same amount that you moved it over here. Okay, so your decimal goes up there. So 8 cannot go into 2, but 8 can go into 29. 8 goes into 29 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 5 left over. Bring down your 6. 8 can go into 56. 7 times, which is 56. And because it is a negative divided by a positive, our answer is negative. Okay, let's look at y. So this is y. We have a negative 0.07, 0.35056. Okay, first thing we have to do is move our decimal. 1, 2. So move the decimal 1, 2. And to make it look pretty, I'm going to rewrite it. Negative 7. And here we can leave out the 0. And your decimal becomes there. And your answer will be negative. So I'm going to put my negative sign up there so I don't forget. 7 can go into 35 5 times. 5 times 7 is 35. 0 left over. Bring your 0 down and do not forget, because you have a space here, you have to fill it. Can 7 go into 0? No. 0 times. Okay, so now bring down your 5. Can 7 go into 5? No. 0 times. Bring down your 6. Now, can 7 go into 56? Yes. 8 times. So you have a negative 5.008. Let's look at the next one, which would be R that I've highlighted. You have to do them all. I'm just trying to help out here. So R, 0.1, negative 439. Okay, you have a positive and a negative. Your answer will be negative. Put the sign up there. And then we need to move our decimal over 1. But you look at this number and you're thinking there's not a decimal. You have to place the decimal there because it's a whole number. Decimals always go at the end of the whole number. And you add a 0. Now you can move the decimal over 1. Bring your decimal up. Okay, that one was a little tricky, but not a problem. So I know it's going to be a negative, and then from here it's pretty easy. 1 goes into 4, 4 times. 1 goes into 3, 3 times. 1 goes into 9, 9 times. How many times can 1 go into 0? 0 times. So there's your answer. Negative 4,390. Let's look at B. When you're working your problems out on notebook paper, make sure you're labeling what it is. Don't just like go all over the place, because if we want to look back and see where you made a mistake at, it's pretty easy to find my work and what problem is. So keep that in mind. You're really going to need that in 7th grade. Okay, so negative 0.008 and 2.2. So I can tell you that my answer is going to be a negative, because I have a positive and a negative, and that's always a negative. This one's a little tricky just because I have to move the zeros again. So let's move the decimal. 1, 2, 3. I said move zeros. We're going to add zeros so we can move the decimal. So this is where it's a little tricky at. Move this decimal. 1, 2, 3. Okay, you notice how it kind of made the indentions there? Because we are going to fill those indentions with zeros. I'm going to rewrite it to make it look a little prettier. -8 divided 2, 2, 0, 0. That's where the decimal went. And don't forget your negative sign. Okay. And this is where it's going to trip y'all up at. You're going to have to remember just to keep adding it and then fill those little lines in with zeros. You have to add your zeros. Okay, so can 8 go into 2? No. Can 8 go into 22? Yes. 2 times 16, 6 left over, bring down the 0. 8 can go into 60. 7 times, that would be 56. 4 left over, bring my 0 down, and that's 40. And 8 goes into 45 times. So you have a negative 275. When the decimal's at the end, it just means it's a whole number. Okay, let's look at O right here. I'm going to work out the first 3, and I might help you set up the last 3, but I'm not going to work the last 3 out. So O is there, negative 0.5, negative 3, 4.0185. So I have a negative divided by a negative, so it becomes a positive. I'm not going to put anything up there. If you want to put a positive, you can. So just to make sure you're following the steps. Move your decimal over once, move your decimal over once, so your decimal is going to go right there. So can 5 go into 34? And it can, 6 times. 30, 4 left over, bring down the 0. Okay, 5 goes into 40, 8 times, goes in there exactly. But I have to keep going. I have to bring my 1 down. Can 5 go into 1? 0. So you bring down the 8, and it becomes 18. 5 can go into 18 3 times. And then you bring down your 5. 5 goes into 35 7 times. So your answer is 68.037. That was O. Let's look at H. Start 0.002, 5.57812. We're going to move this decimal. This one looks a little tricky. I say that just because it's really not. 1, 2, 3. There's your new decimal. 1, 1, 2, 3. There's your new decimal. And we're going to rewrite it to make it look pretty. Sorry. 2, that's a whole number now because the decimal's behind it. You have 5, 5, 7, 8.12. Scoot it over. Okay. So, can 2 go into 5? Yes. 2 times 2 is 4. 1 left over. Bring your 5 down. Can 2 go into 15? Yes. 7 times. 2 times 7 is 14. That's 1 left over. Bring your 7. 2 goes into 17 8 times. 16, 1 left over. Bring your 8 down. 2 can go into 18 9 times. But you are not done. This is where some people may want to stop. You have to keep going. We have to bring our 1 down. Can 2 go into 1? 0 times. Bring down your 2. Can 2 go into 12? Yes. 6 times. So there's your answer. Let's look at E. Okay. Let's move over a decimal. 1, 2, 3. Move your decimal over. 1, 2, 3. Okay. See where I made those indentions? You have to fill it in with zeros. Put your decimal up here. Negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. Okay? If you do these steps before you even get started, it will really help. Okay, we're going to rewrite it, make it look a little prettier. So you're going to have a negative 4 divided by negative 3,200. You can add your decimal there just to prove that we did it. Now then, can 4 go into 3? No. Can 4 go into 32? Yes. 8 times. 32, 0. Well, you have to finish it out. Can 4 go into 0? Nope. Bring down your other 0. Can 4 go into 0? Nope. And like I said, negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. So your answer is positive 800. I'm going to help you set up the last few, but I'm not going to work those out for you. Okay? Let's look at M. Negative 0.0237. I have a positive and a negative. My answer is going to be negative. I do not move my decimal. So move your decimal up. Don't forget to put your 0 in front of the decimal. Don't forget to put the zeros here. Okay, I'm going to have to work it out. I know I said I wasn't. So that's still 0. Can 3 go into 2? 0 times. Can 3 go into 23? 7 times. 21. 2. Bring down your 7. Can 3 go into 27? 9 times. Okay, let's look at L. And you have negative 0.9, negative 6.381. Going to move the decimal over. I'm going to rewrite it just to make it look pretty. And a negative divided by a negative becomes a positive. I'm not working that one out for you. You can do it. And then let's set S up. Negative 100, 7090. Your answer, you have a negative and a positive. Your answer will be negative. And that one's pretty easy. You will have to add on. I say it's easy, but I'll work it out for you. Okay. 100 can go into 709 7 times. That's easy enough. This is where I thought you might get a little complicated. Can 100 go into 90? No. 0 times. Add your decimal, add your 0, bring it down. Now then, I'm going to let you finish it because you can do it. Let's look at the opposite side of the worksheet. Let's see which ones might have given you problems. And I'll work those out. Let's look at 2. One has 2 decimals. Okay, I'm such a easy person to help you out with. Okay, let's look at number 1 real quick. You have 0.3 times a negative 0.4. Okay. First, I'm going to notice that my answer will be a negative. If they're opposite, you have one negative and one positive, it's always going to be negative. If you have the signs that are alike, it's going to be positive. Okay, so 3 times 4 is 12, carry your 1. 4 times 0 is 0, but then you have to add the 1, so it ends up being 12. 0, I don't really have to multiply that because it's going to add zeros to it. So let's count our decimal spots. 1, 2. Okay, it's not like adding and subtracting. Count your spots. 1, 2. Start behind the whole number and go 1, 2. Always put your 0 in front of your decimal. Don't forget the negative. So there you go. And let's look at 2. You have I'm going to rearrange it just because it makes it a little easier. My single digit, I'm going to go on the bottom. So I'm going to start with my negative 0.002 times a negative 6. Notice the first thing, my signs, negative times a negative equals a positive. So 6 times 2 is 12. And 6 times 0 is 0, but I have a 1, so you bring it down, and that's 0, and that's 0. Count your decimal spots. 1, 2, 3. Start at the end. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Easy enough. Just some multiplication. Let's look at number 4. Negative 0.04 times 0.03. So again, 4 times 3 is 12. Carry your 1. 3 times 0 is 0, but I have a 1. I've got to add and bring it down. Then you have a 0. Now then, I could stop there because I know it's just going to add zeros to it, but I don't want it to confuse you. So I'm going to go ahead and work it out. Because 0 times 4, Now I'm going to put my placeholder here. Some of you put a 0, but I usually put an X. This is my placeholder because that's for 3. So I want to start here with my 0. 0 times 4 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. 0 times 0 is 0. Okay. Now I've got to move to this 0. Placeholder, placeholder. You want to put X's or zeros, whatever you do, just to know you have to move over when you're multiplying. So again, 0 times 4 is 0, 0, 0. Then you add them all up. So that's 2, that's 1, 0, 0, 0. Now, remember, go back and count your decimals. 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's 2 and 2 is 4. I've got to move the decimal 4 times. Start in the back of your whole number. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your answer. Let's look at 6. And I'm going to put my 24 on the bottom just because you don't have to. We should get the same answer. It doesn't matter. Okay, so 24 is on my bottom, and they're both negative because I'm multiplying, so my answer is going to be positive. Okay, my answer will be positive. So 4 times 1 is 4. 4 times 0, 0. 4 times 0, 0. Placeholder. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 0, 0, 0. 4, 2, 0, 0. So again, let's count our decimal spots. 1, 2. Come down here. 1, 2. So you can rewrite that as 0.24. Okay. This other 0 doesn't really matter. Let's look at 8. And I'm going to put my 12 on the bottom. They're both positive, so my end sign is going to be positive. So 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. 2 times 0 is 0. Placeholder. 1 times 2 is 2. 1 times 0. 1 times 0. 1 times 0. Then we're going to add them all up. 4, 2, 0, 0, 0. So let's count our decimal spots. 1, 2, 3, and there's none on the bottom. Come down here. 1, 2, 3. So your final answer, because you don't need this 0, would be 0.024. Let's see. Let's look at number 12. Why not? Skip to 12. Let's see. I'm going to put my 200 on top. I don't know why. Just am. Again, it really doesn't matter what order you put things in when you're multiplying. And I know that I have a negative and a positive, so I know that my answer is going to be a negative. Now I wanted to show you this one because there's a lot of zeros here. And like I said before, over here, it really didn't matter if I showed this because it's just going to end up being zeros. So I could have just added my zeros at the end. That's what I'm going to do. If it confuses you, then go back to showing your zeros. Okay? So 0 times 1 is 0. 0 times 1 is 0. 2 times 1 is 2. Okay? And so I know the rest is going to be zeros. So I'm not going to show that work because it's just going to be zeros. But I have a decimal. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We have to have a 0 in front of the decimal. So it's 0.2. I do not have to show those zeros because it means nothing after the whole number, or the 2, the 10th spot. There's 0 there, so I'm not going to show that. And remember, it's going to go back and make sure what your sign is going to be. Okay? Let's see if there's another one I want to do. We can, I think that's pretty good. I mean, I think I covered all the really hard ones. So if you have any questions, feel free to come in the morning before school. I'm usually here at 7 or 7:15.